I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus, I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus, I was evil. I never shook, baby. I never beat no.
I have not hung out with any Satanists lately, so no stories
So what are we supposed to talk about then today?
I've been hanging out with some Christians lately. No.
Oh God.
Yeah, man. What's going on with you? Have you had any cool cultural?
Yeah, I went to the Whitney 2 weeks ago in the city, which is a lot of cool art. Kind of all over the place in terms of style. It doesn't have like one thing. There's a lot of just, paintings.
Yeah. Cool.
All different styles. I like a lot of the American Gothic stuff. And they have a lot of Hopper, who I like a lot. They don't have Nighthawks there, which is one of my favorites. But they have a lot of Hopper. And I think I read they're doing another exhibition on him in October. Like a bigger one, or I don't know if that's what I saw or what, but they have a lot of like kind of I don't know what's the term, multimedia now. Like some of the stuff's a little out there. Like there's one where I'm walking by and it's kind of like a whole wall of projections or screens. And it's just like, and we're gonna get into this a little. It's kind of a similar topic. It's just like I'm assuming like some Native American woman just like beating a drum and chanting. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't sound good. Like it's not beautiful. I think there's definitely there is beauty in a lot of that stuff and all different types of kind of folksy cultures, no matter where it's from. But this was not one of them. This was just like it sounded like some annoying woman in like a subway platform or something, just like and I'm probably it's probably like very insensitive, but it doesn't sound nice. And I don't know what language you're speaking, so it's not like
sounds like a Yoko Ono type of thing.
Kind of, yes. It was it wasn't as like abrasive as that. It was more mellow, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I don't look at that and just think like, oh, the majesty of like this misunderstood culture. I'm like, no, it doesn't sound good. Like there is lots of that, and I actually have a lot of if there's any like group I have the most sympathy for who's gotten fucked in history, in our history, it's like Native Americans. It was like legit genocide, but that doesn't mean I have to like infantilize every single piece of art they do and just think it's all beautiful. Like, right. But and that's just one example. I'm trying to think what else was there. There was some like weird, I don't know exactly. I mean, I guess you could kind of figure out the statement, but it looked like a video game where there were like one guy was in like a Walmart t-shirt and one guy was in a Best Buy t-shirt or Target or whatever these, I guess, stores are, and they're zombies. But I don't know if the commentaries there like these are dying businesses and corporate greed. I don't really know because I can't remember all of them.
Right.
But I thought that was kind of strange and like not that well done.
I wonder if that's like a reference to like Dawn of the Dead. You ever see that?
I love Dawn of the Dead. I mean, I love the remake actually, the 2004 remake. One of my favorite zombie movies actually. But
I wonder if it's kind of a reference to that of like commercialism kind of turns people into zombies. Maybe.
I mean, is it like 1994? Like what year is that really? What's
well, the original came out in the late 70s. So.
I mean this piece.
Oh, this one. This piece.
Like this piece of art. I'm like, is that the statement we're making in 2022? That sounds like something from the 90s.
Yeah.
If that's even what it was, I don't remember.
Yeah. I'm all for ambiguity in art, but sometimes I feel like the artist doesn't even know what they're doing. And it's just sort of like, oh, come on. Like, I love it when an artist has an idea of what they want to say, but they're sort of like, but I'm not going to share with you everything. I want to leave it up to you. But there were times when it's like, so I see this a lot in LA. I just went to an art exhibition, an artist reception last Friday night. And there's a lot of stuff where it seems like the the work itself and like the description were completely incongruous with each other. And like the description was just sort of like, oh, this work interrogates our relationship between social media and corporations, and then like it'll just be a painting of like a lion or something like that. Like, okay,
does it interrogate it? Does it though?
I know, exactly. It's like, come on. Like, I'm all for ambiguity, and I'm all for sort of leaving things to to the audience's interpretation. But it's like, I don't even think the artists. I think the artists just kind of used a lot of. They always say like, interrogate seems to be a very common word among in the sort of like
is that one
art world. It's like, oh, I'm interrogating, or it's an exploration, and it's like, yeah, whatever. But
this piece really fondles capitalism. That's how I'm going to start describing things.
I think penetrate is just kind of a common word in art descriptions, where it's like this penetrative work, and it's like, you're just being provocative. You don't need, you should need a little description box to describe how provocative you are.
I'm trying to think about what else was there. Overall, it's a really nice museum. It's very it's very like highly regarded, like one of the kind of gems of New York.
Nice.
I've been to a good amount of museums. I don't go to as many just like openings like you do in LA. I feel like exhibitions, I just don't really know where they are. But we go to a lot of like we have the culture pass or whatever it is. So a lot of places it's free or just like kind of pay what you can. And so this year I've gone to Museum of Natural History, the MoMA, and the Whitney, and I've been to the Met. I like to go back, but I'm also really into like really niche small museums. Like I think those are really fun. In Cincinnati, I went to the Neon Light Museum, which is really cool. There's like 6 different signs from throughout history. Like, and I mean, America's, I think we like created neon lights, and it's very like part of our kind of car culture and stuff to grab people's attention. I like museums like that a lot.
That's cool.
We
only have a couple of like really nice museums here in LA. Well, we've got two Gettys, which are free, but they do charge you up the ass for parking though. So that's where they get you. But
that's so crazy because like I don't even think about parking in New York. That's something you have to deal with. I don't know how you do it, man. The traffic in LA was. Remember when we sat at a light? It honestly felt like 15 minutes. Did not move. Like, and I don't mean like we were at the back of a red light and it would go green and we move up. So I'm like, no, we were first.
It's like we got skipped over.
And then it's just like we sat there. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I remember particularly, but I mean that happens somewhat often. So I feel like
I think it was when we were coming back from Beverly Hills.
Oh, okay.
I'm
so used to that happening. So it's just like,
I was like, and I remember we were talking like, we've been sitting here for so long. What is happening?
I think I do remember that now, actually.
But anyway,
it's
I have a bone to pick with you. Why do you hate Dragon Force?
I don't. So I was really into them for a bit in college, and they're cool. I mean, I don't hate them. I was just kind of like bandwagoning on like the whole like it's just sped up. It's not real. They hired.
So wait, is it not real? Are they not playing that fast?
From what I understand, it's real. I'm pretty sure that I saw some videos of them, like sitting down and actually playing. Almost as fast, or at least like in the same. So it's like, okay, all right, like you guys are legit guitarists. Like you're not like Milli Vanilli or anything. But it's fun to rip on them. But I mean, they're cool. I respect them. So
okay, good, because that song gets me going. That song we used to play a lot in the locker room for lacrosse.
Oh,
so that's
for
the
lacrosse,
thing you could say, Before lacrosse games, we played Dragon Force. Very, very like 2006.
Did you guys win? Did it help at all?
I think we won sometimes.
Oh,
we were okay.
So that's cool, man. Yeah, museums are cool. Art exhibitions. Okay, I'll bring this up later. I feel like it became kind of like a rabbit hole type of thing. But yeah, I mean, you go to art exhibitions. Okay, yeah.
What do you want to bring up?
Okay, so I mean, maybe this conversation only lasts for like 2 minutes, but so this happens more often than not when I go to like an art opening, and because it's in like downtown LA or in Hollywood or something, it's usually later in the evening, like 9 or 10 o'clock, and but it never really feels like they celebrate art. It's more just like a club, like a nightclub. It's like, oh, like we'll have a DJ there and we'll have alcohol, then everyone gets all dressed up and shit. But and the art's really shitty most of the time. It is like, then like I'll give credit where it's due, but most of the art's really shitty. So the thing I wanted to bring up is like, so this has happened multiple times where I go to a shitty art opening thing and then I come home usually kind of later at night, and then like I'm usually so angry at all like the mediocrity, then I just start like it either makes me like practice guitar or like do some like serious screenwriting. And like, so the thing I want to bring up is like, I know like anger and hatred are like not really good things to have, but it's just like, I feel like for an artist, when channeled properly, they can be a really good source of fuel, where it's like you're so angry with mediocrity and like the superficiality and the materialism of what's going on in a scene. It's like, you know, I mean, it almost feels like turning to the dark side of like, let the anger and the hatred fuel, flow through you. But it's also like, I
see what you're saying. I totally agree. I think so. When we talk about art, like you and I have different, I don't know, interests in like what we do. Like I write, and I'm a believer in, and this is definitely easier said than done. Right. I'm a believer in writing when possible, like at extreme emotions. Like if you're really upset, if you're like elated, if you're furious, if you're depressed, like, because I do think it creates something different. I know I've written, and I don't mean this maybe so much for like novels, because those take so long. So you can't, I don't think it would be good to be angry an hour a day for 14 months for a novel. Like, but like, I think some of the things I've written definitely come out of anger and frustration. And I think there's a lot of like wit and scathing critique comes out of that. Like, I know I wrote things during the kind of riots of 2020. I've written things about, cancel culture, and when I'm like pretty angry, and I show that, I'm not going to make like selfie videos ranting like some people do in their car, whether they're, and it's true, and whether they're like manosphere, like pump up you pussies, like that kind of shit, or whether they're like lib tier women crying about RBG. Like I don't do that. I, so to speak, put pen to paper. So I do think that you can create. I think a lot of the greatest artists have done that. How many artists make the most beautiful work like when they're depressed? And unfortunately, some of these artists were depressed like all the time. And we get to enjoy the fruits of their depression, but like they killed themselves or something. Like think of Kurt Cobain, even though that was probably Courtney Love who killed him, but that's not the best example. I don't know, Van Gogh, didn't he kill himself?
I think so, yeah.
He did, just off the top of my head, a lot of the best artists were I know you're talking about anger, but I just mean like extreme emotions do help you create. And I am someone who does say I think habit's more important than inspiration, even though put asterisk and say inspiration is obviously very important, but it's just hard to always be inspired. Like anything, or like most things, it's good to have a mix. And so, if you like to go to art just to get mad, to come home to practice guitar, well, hey, that works for you. Different strokes for different folks. At least I'm a big believer in Nora Ephron. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, she was a screenwriter, right?
Screenwriter. She wrote
when Harry Met Sally, I think.
Met Sally. I believe she wrote Sleepless in Seattle. There's a good, I think her son or grandson or someone made a documentary about her, and the title is called Everything is Copy, which now we would say like everything is content. So like finding inspiration in everything, personal relationships, which some people obviously don't like because it can be exploitative. So you don't want to do that. But, when I go to museums, oftentimes, like I've seen paintings that I will use as inspiration for like a scene in a novel or something. Yeah. Like I'm constantly looking interactions I'll have with people.
Right.
I'm constantly looking for like we would say now content or inspiration in these. Like I'm not just going there to shut my brain off or even like movies and things and music. Like a lot of ideas I get from songs, different just terms I like, different words I like. I'll put that in writing. Again, nothing not to be derivative of anything or to copy or be exploitative, but for inspiration.
Right.
And I think the more you do that, the more cumulative you can make your experience, the better art you'll create.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that was a big part of why I wanted to go to why I often go to art shows in LA. You know, I'm not an art connoisseur, but I've always had an appreciation for it. So there's that part of just sort of like it's there's a cool exhibition happening 20 minutes away, so why not check it out? And it's free and whatever. So but yeah, I'm usually on the hunt for ideas. So maybe that's another thing that I get frustrated at, where it's like, I want to look at like arts that are provocative and interesting, and whether or not I like them or not, it's just I just care more about seeing unique visions. But when I go and all I see is like sort of like generic, politically, ideologically driven bullshit, I'm like,
yeah. Like with you, let's say you could find you could go to one of these exhibitions that are totally pretentious and banal and like you would kind of the stereotype would be. And maybe for you, that inspiration is, I would like to write a screenplay about how all these people get murdered, right? Yeah. By like all these pretend, it could be something like that. Like you could turn that kind of negative experience, but not what you're really seeking, into something positive.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I kind of hate attend these things in a way, because like I know like how shitty the crowd is, but there's a weird thing where it's like I keep myself at a distance from it, so it's like I feel like I'm at a zoo. I just seen like this weird superficial LA crowd. So there is something like really fun about it though too, where I just want to see this weird train wreck of very successful mediocrities like hanging out with each other. But as I've often tweeted about, I have a really weird, complicated.
That's my new band name. Hold on, I'll change that. My new name is The Very Successful Mediocrity. Right now I'm Fatwabulous. I'm gonna change on Twitter.
Yeah,
I'm stealing that.
Cool.
I am exploiting you in this experience for my own content.
That's fine. Better lawyer up, buddy, because copyright infringement.
Wait, who did you just post here? Is that Burroughs? Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Cheat your landlord if you can and must, but do not try to shortchange the muse. Oh, it cannot be done. You can't fake quality. Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I like Burroughs. So I was actually reading a book, and I don't know why they did this. As you know, as you very much know, I can be very sensitive about violence towards cats. It's like one of my things. I wrote that article about it.
Yep.
And I'm reading this book it was really good. It's called The Night Ocean. We talked about this. It was about Lovecraft, like in a way. It was very unique book. And they talk about William S. Burroughs and they like some story about how he like tortured cats or something. And then I went and looked and I was like, did that really happen? Because I have Naked Lunch and I always liked him. And then it's like, no, it's the exact opposite. And I don't know why I have a book called Of Cats and Men, which is about like cat guys throughout history. One, he's in it. He has an entry in it. And he wrote a book, like, I think from the perspective of a cat or something. He loved cats. So I don't know where that came from. And
weird. Lovecraft was a cat boy too.
All the best of us are. And yes, I'm putting myself in the same category as these literary titans like William S. Burroughs and H.P. Lovecraft.
Jack London was probably a dog guy.
Jack London can fuck off.
They named a square after him.
Well, no, he wrote White Fang, right? Or
didn't he write Call of the Wild?
Call of the Wild.
Maybe he wrote. I know he wrote some outdoorsy. Like he was like a real man.
Yeah. Hold on, wait. What's my new name? Was it
a Successful Mediocrity?
Was that what you said? The Successful Ben. The Successful Mediocrity. Bless you. All right.
Oh.
All right.
I had another kind of like opposite end of the spectrum art experience last Saturday night. I went, and there was like this some art opening thing, but it was in a private residence. It was like kind of in the Beverly Hills area ish. And so I had just gone to see this guy Rick Beato. He's got this really cool YouTube channel. He does like guitar stuff. He's a very guitar nerd guy. But anyway, so he did a sort of lecture show thing. So I happened to be in the area. I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll stop by this thing, see how it is. And I really needed to poo. And it was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So quite a few things were closed. And so I was like, I'm pretty sure I can hold it for at least like next 15, 20 minutes, but it's like, I got to go. And then they also had like a $5 cover charge. So like, shit, I don't have cash on me. So I found like a CVS or something. So like, all right, fine. I'll buy some stupid thing. And they didn't have a bathroom, but I still needed cash. I was like, well, shit, I can't leave. So I bought some random stuff and I got cash back. And so I go to this house, and it's a pretty cool house. But there was no cover charge. Like nobody was guarding it. So I guess they just kind of gave up. So I was like, well, shit, that was, all right, whatever. So like I go.
Did you poop in this guy's house?
Yeah. So that's the big climax of the story. But like I go, and it's like more of like a frat party. It was really obnoxious. I think it was just like a group of friends.
Beato?
Yeah. Rick Beato is a different. I saw him before I went to the art show.
Oh. So this was an art show in someone's house.
Yeah.
And you took a dump.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever heard? Have you heard Bert Kreischer talk about that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. Do you know who Bert Kreischer is?
Yeah, he's a comedian, right?
Yeah, he's a comedian. He's very funny. It's not really like a bit. He just talks about how he lives in LA and is very successful. So he like goes to successful people party sometimes. And he like went and he's in this very nice house, probably in Beverly Hills or Bel Air, one of these neighborhoods, Calabasas. And he takes a shit in this woman's house, and she like confronts him. She's like, "Did you take a shit in my house?" He's like, "Yeah, it's a toilet." I'm like, trouble for taking a shit in someone's house, which I guess I know your stance on this.
This is more of a frat party. It was like
it's still someone's house.
Yeah, but they invite. I got a ticket. I registered online, so
okay.
I mean, there were red cups everywhere.
I took shits in your house.
When you lived here, when you stayed here for those 4 days, you shot I explicitly told you to shit in the street like everyone else does in LA.
I'd fit right in.
But I was there for like 5 minutes, and like there were like 5 paintings. Like, I think it was just like a handful of friends were like, "Hey, I got a painting." Like, "Oh, I got a painting too."
It was just a way to charge people $5.
Yeah.
For some shitty beer.
I didn't pay, but I was like, all right, well, it felt like it was a group of friends, because there's a bunch of these little cliques all over the place, and they all seemed like, I don't know, 7-10 years younger than me, so I just didn't feel, it just felt weird. And I was just drinking out of red cups and like drinking cheap beer and shit, and I'm just like, I'm gonna shit and I'm gonna walk around a little bit, and later,
basically just went to this person's house to take a shit.
I did. It wasn't my intention, but that's what ended up happening. Like, it was just like convenient. Everywhere else was closed. So
sounds like did my doorbell just ring?
I don't think so.
Oh, I don't know. Remember the cops came to my door during an episode?
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
so that was my cultural experience for the weekend.
Yeah. Hey, when you got to go, you got to go. So should we talk about Salman Rushdie?
Yeah.
And then we'll get into the Native American thing. We just killed 23 minutes talking about you taking dumps in other people's houses. Oh, that's what it was. I hit the Nazi jar with my eraser here with my pencil, and it's yeah. All right, good. I don't want anyone coming to my house. So Salman Rushdie got stabbed, and he's not dead, but he's not doing well.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty. I mean, shocker. This is pretty nuts. But it's not just nuts that it happened. It's nuts that this fatwa was. What do you do with the fatwa? Enter it, declare it. I guess.
Yeah. I guess.
Like, how does a fatwa become official? I guess declare a fatwa. Before I was born. And I forget, how old are you? Older than me or younger than me? I always forget.
I'm a little older than you. Yeah, I was born '89.
Yeah. I think that's when it was. I think it was 88 or 89. Yeah,
when
90.
Satanic Verses was
Satanic
that?
Verses. Satanic Verses, which I've read. I'm not a Muslim. I know I say some Arabic terms sometimes for fun, but I didn't really understand what was so. I guess because like there's so much kind of satire and a prodding of like Jesus and Christianity that like I didn't think it was all that bad. Like I don't know what all the hoopla was about, but then again, I mean, look at your audience. They're not known for their sense of humor. Fundamentalist Muslims. So the Ayatollah of Iran entered a fatwa against him, or declared a fatwa against him in like 88, 89, and he got stabbed 2 weeks ago on stage. And hey, represent New Jersey. The assailant was from New Jersey. We always do. I'd love to paint ourselves in the best light.
Snooki.
Yeah. Snooki is not from New Jersey, by the way. And actually, no, because you're gonna get me going. Actually, only like 2 or 3 of the Jersey Shore cast is like actually from New Jersey.
Oh, the rest are charlatans?
Yeah. Very few. Unfortunately, the situation is from New Jersey. He's New Jersey, and I think Sammy is from New Jersey. Yeah, I think they're the only 2, at least from the original cast. Yeah, Paulie D's from Rhode Island, Ronnie's from the Bronx, Vinny's from Staten Island, Snooki's from like Poughkeepsie, New York. She's also not Italian. She was adopted by Italians. She's like Chilean or something. And
here I was. I thought I would be an ally to her and her people, but
no. Oh yeah, I like that shirt.
that cracked me up.
Yeah, it's funny. I love. Do you follow Shoe on Head on Twitter?
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she had one that was like, it was the picture of the Italian flag. It was like, oh, what the fuck? The LGBT community is getting out of control. What the fuck is this? The Italian flag. I think she's also Italian, by the way. It's very funny. Yeah, she's good. So I've heard some not conflicting, but definitely not a general consensus about this issue. Salman Rushdie getting stabbed. He was at a talk in I think New York, maybe it's New Jersey, but I think it was somewhere in New York, where a guy rushed the stage, and like, I mean, Rushdie's had a security detail forever.
Yeah.
And what is he paying them for?
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't even a Dave Chappelle thing where the guy like got a tackle in and then people kind of swarmed or it was like quick. Like, this guy got a lot of stabs in. I didn't check how many, but I don't even know how he got stopped. But
yeah, he got stabbed in the neck and the chest, and I think he's gonna lose an eye.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
A ton.
Yeah.
He's elderly now, so it's easy and maybe too easy to say like, well, this was to be expected. Look at the Chris Rock and Will Smith incident. Look at Dave Chappelle. This is just kind of the natural next step, and maybe that's too easy an explanation, because people are like, well, no, this is totally different. This was a fatwa. This has always been going on. But like, yeah, but it's been going on since the late 80s.
Right.
So like, this guy, I feel like felt, and it's not like Salman Rushdie was like, oh, the first time he was in public since the fatwa. There's like, this guy definitely felt empowered. And I think it's a combination, and maybe I'm reading too much into this. It's a combination of it's becoming more acceptable to physically attack people for speech.
Yeah.
And like, there's not this like hard line, no, we don't attack people for speech. And also, and this is where maybe I'm looking into it too much, but it's like, there aren't repercussions for crime anymore.
Right.
Or there's not the perceived repercussions for crime. Like, this guy is obviously being charged with attempted murder and XYZ, but that being obviously the most intense charge. But I do think people feel empowered to wreak mayhem and violence on people.
Yeah, and I was especially disgusted by a lot of the responses from like the more SJW side of this. This is specifically like blue check journalist types who were sort of like, what happened to Salman Rushdie was terrible, but it's like does not require, there's no but involved. He was given a speech, and then he got stabbed brutally. Like there's no but about like, well, there's two sides to this. It's just like, and somebody brought up an interesting comparison where it's like, the hardcore feminist types will rightly criticize the thinking of, well, yeah, that girl got raped and that was terrible, but look how she was dressed, like she had it coming. It's like, yeah, that's terrible logic. Yeah. But there's the same thing here. It's like, yeah, he, what happened to him was terrible, but he did kind of ask for it by criticizing Islam. It's like, no, there's no buts about this.
Yeah, it's the dumbest and least sympathetic takes I've been, like I always said, I definitely went through a progressive kind of SJW phase, but I was always, and I give myself credit, I was always against like the Charlie Hebdo shit, like this violence. Like I was always very free speech. To me, it was like, oh, the left wing still is the upholders of free speech. It's the right wing who are the craziest. That's just not true. Yeah. They both suppress speech in their own ways, but clearly the bigger issue is the left wing now. Like it just very much is. And again, a sect of the left wing, kind of like you said, the crits, as we call them, SJW, woke, whatever. But it's the least. I don't know how you could ever. I mean, just first of all, I never got the progressive defense of radical Muslims. Like these people would also attack you for like most of your views.
I know, yeah, like, being pro-woman, pro-gay,
like you would not last a set like. So I don't know why you find it's just like, oh, they are minority, they are oppressed, we must protect. Like, no, not at all. Like we see actually there is no equivalent of any other religion that I can think of where their most extreme views actually exist in systems of power, like nation states. It's the only religion that has that. We have Saudi Arabia, we have Iran, Afghanistan, like the Taliban. Like we don't have that for Christianity. We don't have that for Judaism. We don't have that for Hinduism. We don't have that for any other religion. So you see how horrible it is, like how truly horrible it is, and yet you defend this shit. Yeah. And it to me, it's so easy. Like I don't know. This is one of those ones where it's like it's so easy to pick a side here. Like this is not if you want to say practically you shouldn't do these things because of the danger that's out there. That's a different argument. Like should Charlie Hebdo make these cartoons of Muhammad? Well, of course, from a philosophical standpoint, yes, absolutely. But it's hard to tell someone that, and you could risk getting shot in the head in the street. Like it's hard. Exactly. So if that's what you're, I think what you're saying is, and they weren't doing that. Like they were making like a more, and again, this didn't just happen. Like, this has been going on for 30 years.
Right. Yeah, it's that's sort of like what is it? Cultural relativism, where you're sort of like, well, if it's part of an oppressed culture, and it's like, yeah, we give them more leeway to commit horrible things or something like that. It's like, oh, come on.
Well, that's one of those things I would love to, if we ever have Dr. Morgan back on. Yeah, she was on episode 2. Like she posts a lot. She lives in Wales, and she posts a lot about accurately, probably the harassment that women face and the the attacks and all that. And like, I always say, well, I'm just curious, who's doing that?
Right.
Like who is it? I would be very surprised if it was like Welsh white men. Like I would be very surprised because I see it. Like you see it. There was the attack in Cologne, Germany, where, all of these so-called refugees were like assaulting women. Like, is that what you want? Like, I want to know, is it a majority? Like, it doesn't mean it's no like Welsh white men. I'm sure it is some, but like these overt attacks, like these overt things, like I see it, and I see it in New York. And it's not like it's like mentally ill people. And very often, and another example is with like Asians. Like you see a lot of Asian stuff, and I'll watch TV sometimes, and it'll come on, but it'll be like, okay, but then it'll be like Asians for Black Lives Matter, and it's like, well, who is attacking all of these Asians?
Right.
Because 95% of the ones I see are like young Black men.
Yes.
Like almost all of them, and I've seen it in the city. The most overt racist shit that I've seen in person in the city are usually homeless Black men saying shit to Asians. It's gross. I remember sitting there once in the subway, and this guy was like literally telling some, I think it was like an old lady, like saying like really racist shit to her about getting out of his country and like ching chong and stuff like that. And I was fucking shocked. It was really creepy and scary. And now if you put a flannel and a MAGA hat on that guy and you made him a white guy, like that would be a proof positive for that side. But it's and like that's what would be out there. But it's like, well, this is what we call intersectional pretzel. It's like, no, let's say, and there are now accounts that say this shit that are like, no, these are who are attacking us.
Right.
So don't like just be open about it. That's how you fix the problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I see it time and again. It's like young Black kids, or it's like mentally ill people.
Right. Yeah, it's this weird thing on like the hyper progressive side to kind of ignore certain uncomfortable truths that would undermine so much. So for example, this is years ago. This is like 2015 or 2016 maybe. God, I can't remember the name of the event. It was like some kind of like big political. I think it was called Politicon. I think is what it was. But anyway, Ben Shapiro was having a debate with Rachel Maddow, and she brought up a point about how she believed that the prison system in the U.S. was discriminating against minorities because the majority of inmates are Black and Hispanic. And then Ben Shapiro says, yeah, but the majority of them are also male. And she goes, yeah, because it's mostly men who are committing crimes. And he goes, it's just sort of like shit. It's like I'll have sympathy when it has to do with minority skin color. I'll have sympathy, but when it's men, it's like, oh, well, shame on men. It's because men are violent.
Yeah. Well, let's just say both. It's like, yes, men are like the most disturbing. Like we have caused so much mayhem and destruction and violence. Like I'm a domestic violence attorney. Like I see this shit. It doesn't mean that like, and there are false allegations, which is like infinite. It's one of the worst things ever to falsely accuse people. It does happen. It is a problem. I actually think it's a bigger problem than most people realize. But even still, like the just violence and controlling and destruction that men do is a problem. So let's just say that. Like yes, and like there's a reason that the vast majority of violent crime is committed by men. So why can't we take that logic and apply it to other demographics? Whether it's race or religion. And to be honest, I think the vast majority of it is also poverty. It's not an excuse, but it helps to explain it. Like I don't think the vast majority of these Black men who are committing violent crimes are from the upper middle class. But that doesn't mean that then they just get off. Like same with I'm a legal services attorney, so all of my clients have to be within a poverty range, and the vast majority of them, the abusers, are also in that range of the poverty level and the overwhelming majority are white because that's the county I happen to work in. So like, do we excuse their violent crimes because they're poor, they're closer to poor, or they are poor? It's like, no, we don't. Like they're still violent criminals or they're violent people.
Exactly.
So
yeah. Well, Salman Rushdie, we're pulling for you, brother.
Yeah, I have Satanic Verses on my shelf. I read it probably 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't. It was fine. I don't say he's to be my critique of Salman Rushdie more is like sometimes he's just a little too flowery for me. Like he's a very beautiful writer, but sometimes it's like I just want to know what's happening. Like I don't. I have Midnight's Children. I have Satanic Verses. I don't know if I have any others. It's just not really my style. I would read some of his other books, but So that's more of my criticism of Salman Rushdie, not that he wrote a fictional criticism of the Prophet Muhammad, amongst other things. And there's one of those things that like I don't think that was that big a part of the book.
Right.
I think it's like not like that, but of course that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously it's horrible that he also signed the Harpers Letter, which was to me a breath of fresh air during a time where like I was honestly questioning my own views and sanity, and I was like, wait, like where are the rational people here? Am I wrong? It's like no, people are just scared. And like you need sometimes to have support to be able to speak up, unfortunately.
But no, he's a necessary figure in this fight for freedom of speech. Because I mean, he's been fighting this since before we were born. Like this has been something like this guy's old school. So he's I hope he gets better and he comes back stronger than ever.
He had a great quote. I should have looked this up before I shared it. It's basically the crux of it is if you can't criticize or satirize or I'm gonna try and find it instead of just mumble here. So give me a sec. Say something.
Something
fun. All right, this is bad radio, so I can't find it.
When you find it though, send it my way. I'll promote it through the TRM Twitter. I think that's a good quote.
Oh yeah. I found it, like I typed in on Instagram and I found it like right away. So anyway. All right. Should we discuss Heyoka?
Yeah, let's do it. The timing of this was pretty good. When you sent this to me earlier today, because I'm almost done with Joe Rogan's interview with Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee, and he brought up this exact thing, I believe. So that was.
Should we talk about that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
We, like the Babylon Bee being banned on Twitter
and Facebook and TikTok too. I think.
Is it now all of those?
I think so. I think they're still on Instagram.
Yeah, because he did the it's actually a perfect example of the fucking quote I was trying to find Salman Rushdie, where they are satirizing a trans woman being called Woman of the Year, which has happened with Caitlyn Jenner, but it was what is she, the health
officer, the chief health officer or something like that?
Yeah, and they did some like kind of low-hanging fruit joke that of course it's like Twitter says they're not political, like they don't take political stances, but like they 100% do. Like that's a political stance to make people believe a certain thing, like whether it's right or wrong is not really up to them. And this is what I know. A while ago Tim Pool did a show, or he was a guest on Rogan with Jack Dorsey and like their head attorney or something, and he's like, no, like you guys say you're politically neutral, but like you're not. Like this, like making someone, you like saying dead naming or something, that's a political stance,
right?
Like
exactly.
That is political. This is a relatively new thing that you're enforcing people to do. It doesn't mean it's not a dick move to dead name, or it's even like morally wrong, but that's not your job. Like that's not or then don't say that you're not like that you don't take that you have viewpoint diversity, because you don't. Right. And so anyway,
that was it's a good interview. I recommend people checking it out because Joe Rogan's a comedian, so they talk quite a bit about sort of like the importance of comedy and satire, and like why we as a society need to be able to laugh at ourselves and like be self-deprecating. I mean, it's so funny that people criticize the Babylon Bee for making fun of woke excess, and even then, like they make fun of the excess. Like they don't. It's not like they'll just say, "Oh, look, the Democrats are dumb." Like they'll criticize like some crazy radical thing. I rarely, if ever, have seen them go after moderates. Like it's usually just like the more radical types. But the people also forget that the Babylon Bee, they also make fun of Christianity. They make jokes. They made plenty of jokes at Trump's expense. Like they definitely lean more right and religious, but they make fun of themselves too, which is so it's like.
Well, he said that's actually how they got their start, and they got a lot of popularity by being like self-deprecating, and making jokes at their own expense. And I think that's a really good trait to have. I think too many people take themselves too seriously. And organizations take themselves way too seriously, and that like you have to be open to criticism, and if you do that on your own, I think it's I don't know. I think it's a great trait to have. But and what I find interesting about this, what's so weird about their ban, according to Seth Dillon, is that his name, Seth Dillon?
I have it open right here. So yes, Seth Dillon.
Oh, okay. Is that it's like it's not just that they're banned and can't come back, because they can come back. It's that they have to delete the tweet. And what's really weird about it, it's not like Twitter just deleted the tweet and banned them, or Twitter just deleted the tweet and didn't ban them. It's this strange sort of like penance or something. Like you have to delete this tweet to show that you know that you're wrong. And that's very odd, right? Like you would think that if it was something, let's say something that isn't controversial, that should be banned. Like you dox someone or you threaten them. You said, but it's not criminal, right? Let's just say like, go kill Joe Garza, right? Everyone should go kill Joe Garza. And Twitter just like, you would think that Twitter would just delete it. They wouldn't, I would assume they wouldn't suspend you and then say you can come back if you delete it. They would probably ban you / suspend you permanently, right? Or just delete the tweet and ban you, suspend you, or just delete the tweet. I doubt that they would suspend you and then say you have to delete it or you can't come back. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but this feels like it's a because that's so obviously wrong that like they don't like. I feel like they wouldn't care because there's no convincing, or if you're going to say something like that, you're beyond the pale anyway. So there's not like a no, you have to admit that saying to go kill Joe Garza is wrong by deleting it. Like I don't think that's the case, but this, because this is such a political issue, they have to go and like admit that they were wrong by deleting the tweet. And it's really creepy.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like this weird sort of like mafia move where it's like, well, you can be under our protection, but you gotta make sure that you gotta make sure that you do this thing first, sort of thing. It's like, it's such a sleazy, shitty move. It's stupid Twitter.
Yeah, well, that's where we thrive. So I hate Twitter, but I love it. Like when Twitter is good, it is so good. And it's the best. It's just when there's like a fun Twitter moment, like it does. You can't replicate that on Instagram or anywhere else. Like the Will Smith incident, right? I remember being like, I fucking love Twitter because the memes and the comments and the quote tweets nothing tops it. That's why I just wish they would stay open and stop going crazy, because like it is the best.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. And every once in a while, there'll be a controversy that brings the left and the right together, where it's just like it seemed like everyone was very much like, nah, Epstein killed himself. It's just like,
that was the best. It was the verbal meme here. It's like the one arm, conservatives, other arm, liberals, put them together. Knowing that Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, right.
Knowing that Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, every once in a while, it's like once in a blue moon, something happens where it's like, okay, we all have to put aside our differences.
Well, the GameStop brought a lot of people together.
That's right.
The stocks, that was great. It was like nothing. It was like when GameStop brought America together when nothing else could. So we're talking about Heyoka.
Heyoka. Yeah.
Do you want me to read about it, or do you want to read?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So I'm on the Wikipedia page because we do deep dives here. And this is the Heyoka. It's a kind of sacred clown in the culture of the Sioux, Lakota, and Dakota people of the Great Plains of North America. The Heyoka is a contrarian, jester, and satirist who speaks, moves, and reacts in an opposite fashion to the people around them. Only those having... Oh, so then it's like, what makes a Heyoka? I've actually read the Lakota Medicine Man Black Elk. It's called Black Elk Speaks, the book. I read that. I don't really remember the Heyoka, but it's in there, where he talks about... He described himself as a Heyoka. Some more details about them. It's like, they actually kind of sound like dicks. Like not enough... Like, part of them's definitely like a court jester type thing where if you've seen, did you see The Northman? Yeah. The Northman, so Willem Dafoe's character, he can like kind of get away with saying things that if anyone else said it, like in one of the first scenes, he says something, I think maybe sexual to the queen or something about like the king's small dick or something like that. Like, if anyone else said that, they get their tongue cut out, but he's allowed to in a way. Like, he gets yelled at by someone else who like can't, but like not the king and queen. Like, they thought it was funny or don't care because they understand he plays a role. That's kind of what the Heyoka are like. What I find like where I say they're kind of dicks is where it's like, for example, if there is a shortage of food, a Heyoka may sit around and complain about how full he is. If it's like baking hot heat, if it's like a hot heat wave, a Heyoka might shiver in the cold and put on gloves and cover himself in a thick blanket. To me, that would just like piss people off so much. Right. I can see how that's funny. I don't really know that's necessary, but I guess he's like comedic relief. Yeah. And I think what's more important is where he like the satirical aspects about him. He can ask why is one of the big ones, like to other questions, or he can actually kind of, because he can question things that like no one else really can question. Right. And he can violate cultural taboos and critique established customs, which is, I mean, what's more important than those things? Right. Like, if no one did that, we wouldn't progress.
Exactly. You know, this kind of reminds me a little bit. This is not the greatest example, but Milo Yiannopoulos. So I'm no fan of him. He annoys the hell out of me. But there are times where it's just like if he'd have, I don't know, like refined his act, I guess, more. It's like he could have been something pretty important, but he just became really obnoxious. But there were some he was a walking contradiction in many ways that I thought, oh, like this could have been like he could have made a great point, but he just kind of became really, self-absorbed. But like he's a Jewish Catholic. He's
Jewish Catholic
or a Catholic Jew, rather. I guess ethnically he's Jewish,
well,
but
he was.
Or he's got like a Jewish mom, but he's Catholic.
Oh, okay. He was.
I think that's what it was.
Like, well, his last name's obviously Greek.
Yeah,
and he's like British, but he's gay and
conservative,
and like strictly slept with like black men.
That's where the contradiction is, because like he gets associated with being with the alt-right and white
like a white supremacist.
But he's married to a black guy, so it's just like, like there are parts of it's like, this is almost kind of genius, but too bad you're just kind of like an insufferable dick. And
like I agree with you. I think he did serve a purpose, and this was Milo was like very
flash in the pan,
2016. I mean, I remember seeing him on Bill Maher. And like he was kind of a shock jock in a way, like a 2016 mid 2010s shock jock. I agree though. What you're saying is that like he did just become kind of cruel, I think, and he would just like he did that thing that's not, that I think sometimes like libs of TikTok and some other groups do, where it's like not very clever. It's just like put a picture up of like a blue hair social justice warrior. It's like, look at this freak and stuff. And it's like, that's not really clever. And I think it's been like meaner than that. The other side of me is like, look, if someone's going to hypothetically hang themselves, like don't take the rope away, whatever that saying is. Right. But like if that's how easy it is to show people you're trying to convince how nuts the other side is, like fine, but I do think sometimes it's just like it just gets kind of mean. That's not necessary, and I think Milo did fall into that the more popular he grew, because you're right, he did have this status of like, he wasn't a Richard Spencer, which is like the straight white neo-Nazi.
Right.
He was gay, and he was a mix, and dated like black men and Muslim men, he would say, and it's like, so you can't just say like, oh, shut up, straight white man, because he wasn't that.
Right.
So he really did get canceled, though. Like, he legit, yeah. And then he started talking about, well, what really got him canceled was he talked about like how in the gay community it's totally normal to kind of have grooming.
Yeah.
And I think people are like, whoa, what the fuck? And maybe that was, and like, because that was his experience.
Yeah.
Like
he talked about it in kind of a lighthearted way, where he's like,
right.
He said that, like, I think he said that he had like his first sexual awakening when he was like 14 years old with a priest or something like that. But he kind of joked about it, made it seem like, oh, you know, some boys can handle it, and it's just like, well, okay, dude, all right, you know.
Yeah. And that was like, where he was he kind of saying it was like a good thing?
He kind of was, yeah. I watched the clip, and it was, he didn't straight up say like, oh, like, you know, all young gay boys should be touched, you know, by an older man. But he did say, you know, some boys, it happens to them and they're fine, and it's a good experience for them. It's like, oh no, dude.
Yeah, that's not gonna. I mean, to be honest, if he played more of like a victim card, which he was a victim. I mean, he was a minor. Minors can't consent. He probably would have garnered a lot of sympathy.
Right, exactly.
And instead, he took the different. Well, he is Greek, and they were fucking boys for millennia. So. So anyway, the Heyoka. Am I getting in trouble for that? That's just historically accurate, though. Like when the Greeks like fuck little boys.
That's what I remember hearing, or I mean, like learning about it. That but it wasn't seen as like a sexual thing. It was seen as just sort of like a rite of passage, where it's like you had to have sex with like
it was
men.
Totally a sexual thing.
I mean, sexual, yeah. I mean, like it was still like, oh, like you have to like marry a woman and blah blah blah. But it was just like, oh yeah, you have to have sex with a man because that's what men
like
do.
Strictly, I think it was like it was. I think it was like very not cool for two men to have sex. I think it was like a man and a young boy was kosher. Right. Like, I think that was it. And it was like a power dynamic thing and like a rite of passage. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about the sexual proclivities of ancient
to
Greece.
make sure that we don't get canceled for this, what's his face? Zach Galifianakis. He kind of references. He didn't mention the age gap thing, but he was on some Canadian talk show, and the guy asked, so you're Greek. What's the greatest contribution that Greeks have given to the world? And then he's like, butt fucking. And then he freaks out. He goes, no, please don't show that, because, you know, like I've already gotten on the bad side of the Greek council. I'm gonna get another letter from them. Like, please don't. So according to Zach Galifianakis, that was a custom back in the day. So,
I think it was a totally normal thing. I think in Rome too. Like in ancient Rome, it was like men and boys, but not men and men. Yeah, which that's totally changed. But I know Andrew Schultz talks about this. I don't know. I don't always like to quote comedians for historical accuracy. He talks about like how that was actually a good thing that the church did. It was like, hey, we need to stop fucking boys and animals and stuff. You can only have sex with women, and you only get one, and like because everyone's getting too crazy. It was like there need to be some reining in, and now it's the priests who are fucking all the boys. So they got you. They full circle.
I don't know. Oh man,
but it is wild how many Catholic priests like rape boys.
Yeah, and how many of them got away with it? Now, like
it is so wild. I watched a French movie about it, and it's just like again, like how it feels like a statistical impossibility. But it's almost like, why didn't I get raped? Like I was a Catholic boy. Yeah. I don't know. It's like everyone else was, but I don't know.
Yeah. Are you bummed that you missed out on that experience?
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm just joking. It's horrific. I'm criticizing this fucking, which I belong to, this establishment that like, Can we figure it out? Right. Well, I think what's more disturbing is the cover-ups.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
it's like it's not just that it's happening. It's like because it's like whack-a-mole, whereas it just keeps fucking happening. But it's the cover-ups and the like. That's very disturbing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That they're just getting like moved to different parishes and just pulling the same shit.
Right.
What are we talking about? The Heyoka?
Heyoka, yeah. No, so yeah. Getting back to your point about how these guys seem like dicks. It's like, yeah, they did, but there is something I think some kind of value in just kind of being weird and different for its own sake. Where we're like, I'm gonna do the exact opposite. I mean, because that's so much of what comedians today do. We're like, hey, everybody's talking about how much they love this person or this movie. I'm gonna talk shit about it, and so there's I think there's a value there.
I definitely believe that there's a fine line between like being a contrarian asshole and like the necessity of having contrarians. Like it is a fine line.
Yeah.
Like we don't want monothink. But I do think people who are just like always being contrarian are not as useful, and it's like that's just their identity.
Right.
And I don't think any of that should be an identity.
Like
I
people
believe
who shit on Marvel movies, like idiots.
I don't shit on Marvel movies. I'm like, I just can't. It's too many people in capes with beams coming out of their hands and glowing and shit.
Shakespeare. I mean, it's better than Shakespeare. You know,
it's just too much. I was actually thinking about that today. I was like,
I don't think
because
so.
I listened to a movie. I was listening to a movie podcast, and probably almost there's some news about some Marvel thing or DC or something like that, and I'm just like, I just don't care. I just do not care.
Are you that there'll be one less superhero movie because DC canceled Batgirl?
Yeah, did we not talk about that?
No, we didn't.
Oh, yeah, that's wild. It must have been so bad.
Yeah.
Like, how bad does a movie have to be for you to spend that much money on it and then just like not like it's so bad that's like, you know what? It's not even worth trying to get any of the money back.
Yeah.
Unreal.
It's just gonna be like a tax write-off. So it's like they I guess they would be able to make more money. They figured that they'd be able to make.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild, man. I cannot think of any other time in which that's happened. In which a movie just got canned entirely. It's like it's been made and we stopped.
Has it ever happened?
The only thing I've definitely heard of movies that entered pre-production, but I've never that were pretty far along into pre-production. But not after production. Like where it's like, yeah, we shot everything and we're getting ready to edit and do effects and music and blah blah blah. I have not heard of a movie that happening. Yeah, that's crazy, man. But I'm glad you're happy, Ben, that there will be one less superhero movie.
Oh, actually, well, first of all, I was not going to see Batgirl, but Batman,
I know.
Batman probably is my favorite. My favorite. I don't know if it's really a character, but my favorite movies. This is more my style. I do like the kind of grittier, less. Like it just less of the flying and the hand, and there's like glowing shit coming out of it, and oh my god, there's just where you like what was the last Batman called?
The Batman.
It was The Batman. That one to me was like really cool. It was a more of a just a psychotic villain who was kind of almost like a alt-right figure in a way, and some sort of like getting his minions to do his bidding and being a serial killer. The Batman's just like this brooding dark guy, and like you can't have every movie be that would be boring, and that is one of kind of DC's critiques, or at least it used to be, but that's more my style than the just appearing out of thin air and all of that. I know. I try not to be a hater. I really don't. Like, I don't go out of my way to hate on it. I just catch myself like rolling my eyes and stuff.
You're being a Heyoka right now.
I think it was like I saw one that it might have been Doctor Strange. It's like another like pose, like with stuff coming out and like I'm just like, dude, can we do some other shit?
Well, what about Daredevil? He's a lawyer.
So is She-Hulk.
Oh yeah.
And I that comment I got a lot of likes. It was like it looked like a show, like a fake show that would be in the background of a real show. Like She-Hulk, attorney at law. Like that sounds like a joke.
Sounds like did you ever see that Weird Al movie UHF?
No, Weird Al's a movie?
Yeah. It came out in the late 80s. It's a great movie. I love it so much.
What is
I'm dead serious. It's a really funny movie, but the premise is that he plays like this loser slacker guy, and he accidentally he kind of falls into ownership of a TV station. And at first he's just playing like regular programming, but then it fails. And then just for the hell of it, he's like when he's about to shut the station down, he gives Kramer, Michael Richards, pre-Seinfeld. He just plays like this goofy janitor. Yeah, he plays this goofy janitor. He's hilarious. He's like, hey, want to star in your own TV show? Like, I'm gonna shut it down. And then like the show becomes a huge hit. And then so like the moral of the story is that like I actually love it because it's such a like happy, cheerful like underdog story. So then Weird Al, like he plays this character, he's got this big imagination, so he's always having like these dumb fantasies. And then like when this crazy kids show with Kramer becomes a huge hit, then he's like, okay, I'm going to come up with all these other crazy shows, and they all become successful. But there's a part where he's doing the programming for the week, and it's like the most random shit. It's just like, okay, we got the Volcano Worshippers Hour, Strip Solitaire, and Fun with Dirt. And it's just like, but it just reminds me, it's like, and She-Hulk, attorney at law.
Yeah, She-Hulk, attorney. Like, is this? It almost feels like it's a money laundering scheme or something, like for the mob.
So actually, it kind of was. So not the show, but the original comic. Not a money laundering scheme per se, but but Stan Lee came up with the idea. So She-Hulk came out like 15 years after Hulk, the original Hulk, came out.
Oh, really?
And so there was, she came out in 1980, whereas the Hulk came out like the 60s, mid 60s, I think. But I believe after the success of the Hulk TV show, there were plans. Somebody was planning to make a sort of female version of it, not connected to that character, but do like their own kind of ripoff of it. And so Stan Lee wanted to jump on that before anybody else took the idea. So it's okay, I'm going to come up with the girl Hulk. And so it was kind of like a cash cow sort of thing. It's like, oh, let's just jump on it before someone else does.
Gotcha.
But yeah, man, the Heyoka.
Are we Heyokas?
Yeah.
Is that cultural appropriation?
Yeah. I got some indigenous to me. I think.
Do you?
Well, I think like South American indigenousness.
That's fun.
Yeah. But
were your people like cutting virgins in half and flinging them down the pyramids?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. But I got some cool cultural stuff that I'm doing this week.
What are you
doing?
doing?
You should just move to LA. We got everything here.
I would rather. I would never move to LA.
So tonight I'm going to the Hollywood. I'm going to the Hollywood Bowl. The LA Philharmonic is going to be performing the score for Amadeus, which is one of my favorite movies.
I love Amadeus.
Yeah, me too. I love that movie.
Great.
So.
Oh yeah, you love Mozart.
Oh yeah,
the movie's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a terrific film. It's one of my favorite movies. So I'm going to see that tonight, and then tomorrow night. This is kind of cool. There's this group called Scripts Gone Wild. And so they get like these not so famous actors. I mean, like actors who are like either like in cult movies or they've done like voice acting for video games and stuff. Yeah, but people you might have seen like in a bigger thing, but like as a minor role.
It's like, oh, I know that guy. I know that
exactly.
guy.
But he played the neighbor in that one sitcom or something. Just that sort of thing. They get a bunch of these types of actors, and they go up on stage, and they do a live script reading of usually like a cult movie. And every time somebody screws up a line, they have to take a drink. So it's like watching these actors reenact a movie.
Yeah, that does sound fun.
Yeah, and so the movie that they're doing is Creepshow, which is one of my favorite horror comedies.
I don't know that one.
Oh, it's a good one, dude. You should check it out.
Creepshow?
Yeah, it came out in 1982. George A. Romero directed it. Stephen King wrote it, and he stars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he plays a character. So are you familiar with like those Tales from the Crypt comic books?
I was gonna say, is this Tales from the Crypt?
It's basically their version of that, where it's an anthology thing, but there's a wrap around where kids reading a comic and the comic comes to life, and you see
Gotcha.
But it's very tongue in cheek. Like there are a lot of scenes where it's like when a character sees a dead body, then they freak out, and then behind like the background just turns all bright red, so it looks like a scene from a comic book. It's all just melodramatic. It's really goofy, but it's really fun. It's intentionally cheeky and funny.
All right. I'll see that.
But anyway, so they're going to be reenacting. They're going to do a live script reading of that. And one of the chicks, one of the actresses is Barbara Crampton, who I had a big crush on. She was in horror movies in the 80s. She was in Reanimator and From Beyond and a bunch of other horror movies. She's kind of a scream queen type of chick, so she's going to be there. So that'll be cool. And then Friday night, I'm going to see Faster Pussycat at the Whiskey, sleazy, washed up hair metal band. So
all right.
Can you do this much culture in Jersey, Benjamin Ted Lasso?
No, I can't. But I did read today. This isn't helping because I forgot his name. He's the character in The Office, he's in like one or two seasons, kind of a recurring character. But he's the guy who Angela hires. He's like Dwight's friend. Angela hires to like kneecap Oscar. Because Oscar's like 60%. Do you watch The Office?
I've seen a few episodes.
Anyway,
no, I don't remember that character.
From New Jersey. It's actually from where my dad's from. And he has a podcast called New Jersey is the World. And I'm going to start listening to that and just get like very pro New Jersey about everything.
That's fine. If you want to listen to rival podcasts, in fact, you can join them. You're off this podcast.
Do you only listen to our podcast just on repeat?
I repeat. Oh, man. But yeah, man, you should move to LA. Jersey.
Never happen, but I'll visit sometime again.
Yeah. Well, when you do, just don't leave.
No one leaves LA unless you're moving to Texas.
So, I know, in Austin.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right.
I got to go have fun, and you do whatever you do in Jersey.
Oh, not much.
It was like, but it's safer, it's quieter, it's less traffic.
It is all those things. No, LA's fine. Enjoy it. I'm happy that you're happy there.
Oh, thanks, man. And also the place where they're having Scripts Gone Wild, it's near Silver Lake.
On that note.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Right.
Benjamin.
Enjoy the Scripts Gone Wild. That actually does sound fun.
Yeah, it should be pretty cool. But
all right,
everyone. Stay reckless.
All right.